So, and I mean, it's like it doesn't have to be like interview, like me, you.
It's a discussion.
It's like whatever, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's more like it looks like really formal, though.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like yes.
I know all
So you
about
wanna-
that. I'm all about formal. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like when you talk about like when you talk about a comfort zone, like
Yeah.
what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by comfort zone? So often we have every day-to-day stuff that we do, and we stick to that routine. We stick to that social circle. So the people around you, the friends you stick to the same friends, the same people at work. You might socialise after work with the same, work people. After work drinks, same people. So your life tends to be quite regular and predictable and constant in the sense that it's familiar. It's within your comfort zone. You're with these people your life is 5 days a week might be the same. All of that is familiarity, and that's within the comfort zone because you're not really doing anything new. What comfort zone exercise or getting out of your comfort zone relates to is really doing the stuff that you want to do that you're otherwise inhibited to do, and that can be due to social conditioning or just your way of life that you've been used to or you've been taught or you've been brought up. So comfort zone is, for instance, a typical example that you could probably relate with Ed is approaching girls, and especially in the daytime, which your channel, your second channel is about. It's not something that's society doesn't say this is the way to meet girls. It's usually go to a club, have a few drinks, and then you meet someone. Or it could be through social circle, like a friend of a friend who introduces you. But it's very rarely going out there and grabbing what you want.
Right now, it's a niche. It's a subculture to approach a girl, even though in my opinion, or probably in both our opinions, it should be something that is seen as normality. Why should it have to be something that's so like underground and so niche? Why, if everyone did it, they would most likely benefit from doing it. That's kind of what I think. So why don't they? Well, it's because it's more difficult. It's more difficult to summon the courage to go out and do it, to actually do that initial approach. Once you actually have done it, you'll probably realise that it's actually so easy and straightforward. It's just that in your head you've conjured up like this image of it being incredibly difficult and like an insurmountable task, but it's really not. It's like a kid going on a roller coaster for the first time. It's going to be so scared of it. But actually, once you actually do it, you'll get the sense of relief, and you'll be glad that you actually did it, having experienced it.
Yeah. I think your mind's your biggest enemy.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the fear or the anxiety that's built up is all created in the mind.
Yeah.
But when you actually do it, it's nowhere near as bad as you think it is. It's like the video we did, you filmed, me announcing on the underground tube that I'm supposedly a virgin. So, one, I hate the underground tube. I think it's the worst place you can be in. Especially when it's packed, it can be awkward as well.
Yeah.
Where do you look? When people are staring at
It's
you.
like normally it's like you're sat sort of in one place and your eyes are like locked forward, and then as soon as that seat gets occupied, you're like, oh god,
exactly. You're looking at, and if it's a girl with like a skirt, oh no, I wasn't checking you out. It's just overly sensitive, and given that environment and announcing something that is very insecure for a guy to say that they're a virgin, that combination, announcing in the tube, like grabbing everyone's attention. Excuse me, everyone, I have an announcement to make, and then you say you're a virgin. But you have to keep your face straight, because otherwise people know it's a prank. You want them to be as serious as possible, so you can take on as much judgment as possible, and you can feel comfortable with those judgments eventually, because you cannot stop the tube. You can't get out there, smash the window and escape the tube. You just have to accept it, and once you accept it, the quicker you accept it, the sooner you realise it's not actually that bad.
Yeah.
You're not gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, speaking about the tube, just as a general setting of the tube, when I was a lot younger, when I would get on the tube, I would just experience so much sort of just awkwardness in terms of like where do I look? Like for example,
I have
you
that
touched
one.
on,
I
you
had
touched
that
that
one,
on that
yeah.
earlier. Like it's like where do I look? As soon as all the seats get occupied, it's like do I look up? Do I look down?
Yeah.
But I can't look sort of in the mid region because that's inappropriate. You
And
know,
if
like
you're looking up, they might think you're crazy,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
your
it's just like-
nostrils might
and
be
it's like
flaring.
you dare not make eye contact with another person because once if they look back, and that's happened to me a few times, and like when I was a lot younger, I'd get so embarrassed about it, and it's just I'd conjure up all this like negative like mental imagery about it when really it's the most trivial occurrence that really doesn't matter at all. It's like so what if another person looks at you? Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
It's how you take it as well, because before, when people looked at me, we exchanged eye contact, I'd take it in a violent way, as if
Yeah.
they want to fight me.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if the way you take it can impact the way they take it. So if you smile and just nod or say hello,
Yeah.
they actually, you'd be surprised how warm people may be back to you. Of
Yeah.
course, there are people who won't respond to you, who think
Yeah.
you're weird or whatever, but how you think is that dictates how you feel. So if you interpret it as a gesture of violence or someone disliking you,
Yeah.
then you're gonna feel that way. But if you take it in a way of people are just curious, they're just looking around, because sometimes I think, why did this person who I know spot me on the streets?
Yeah.
It's because they have to be looking around. If you just like sewn in on just your own path,
Yeah.
you're not going to realise people. And
Exactly, and
it's a normal thing.
Yeah, and
I
a lot
can
of it
tell.
is really just your own interpretation of what you are thinking and what the other person is thinking, because you have no idea what the other person is thinking if they look at you. It's
Yeah.
like there's this thing in like the pickup community, like if a girl makes eye contact with you, that's like an indicator of interest. But
Yeah.
it's not. It could just be. It could be a million and one reasons why she just happened to exchange eye contact with you at that moment. It could be an indicator of interest, but it could be a million other things as well. So yeah, on the tube, I think the thing that's really kind of bizarre from like a sociological point of view is the fact that, well, it's not really bizarre, but it's just the fact that no one talks to each other. There's like 100 people crammed into a carriage, but there's no social interaction whatsoever, even though there could very well be. Whereas if you go to, for example, let's take for example a pub, you still get 100 people inside of that venue, and they will most likely be talking to each other in some capacity. They may not. They may talk with people they don't know or people that they do know, but there's still a much bigger amount of social interaction.
they drink a
but
little bit,
why
maybe.
is that? Like if you think about it, how much better would people's commutes be if they actually interacted with each other? It'd be so much more enriched if that were to happen. And so these are things that like I'm interested in, kind of challenging, but it's not like I'm starting a crusade against people not talking on the tube. It's not. I don't have that kind of agenda, but at the same time, it's just really interesting to play with the social dynamic of not talking, and if any form of communication is seen as like a massive monumental occasion when it's really not. If you think about it logically, really.
Do you think like nobody talks to each other? Do they actually want, but they don't because there's this wall of
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, some people will just genuinely not be in the mood, which is fair enough, totally fine. But there will be other times where you get, for example, one extrovert will sit next to another extrovert, and they could both very well have a conversation with each other, and they would both like liven up their day. But it doesn't happen because of the social conditioning that we've set up for ourselves.
What I find interesting is, say you're on the tube and then some woman comes in with a baby, and everyone
Yeah.
thinks babies are cute and adorable.
Oh, yeah,
have not
yeah.
been socially conditioned yet, so a baby will express itself. And
Yeah.
go like point to things, try and grab things in the tube, whilst everyone else is just sitting there. And you see when there's an infant or something like that, everyone's more touched by the kid.
Yeah.
They go, oh, and there tends to be interaction from that kind of spike of
Yeah.
of something different.
This is a
within
catalyst
everything,
for interaction.
exactly,
Yeah. And the same with dogs or like
Yeah, yeah.
something. Yeah.
But
So we just lose it basically. Like
Yeah,
you have a
yeah. Well, as we grow up, we become socially conditioned and indoctrinated
so.
to adopt a certain set of behavioral traits. So we undergo this process of. It's like
process.
Well, it is. It's a process. It's a process of conditioning. It's a process, social conditioning
Yeah.
that we all exposed to. But yeah, if you take an infant, they haven't undergone that, so they're free. They're completely liberated. They don't care. They don't have this notion of judgment from other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're completely liberated. And it's a shame that we as humans we impose this on each other as adults. Yeah.
That's interesting. There was actually, maybe I should just get into the frame or something.
That's right. You can, well, that's,
Should like there was have you ever heard of Robert Bly?
what's that?
Robert Bly?
Robert Bly.
Yeah, he's
No.
an American poet, and he was saying, talking about Iron John, which
Yeah,
is like a
Robert Ply.
Bly.
Rubber plywood. It's like a model making material. Yeah, go on, sorry.
no, that's fine. And he was saying like, in this story that talks about kind of the general growing up. He was saying that we're born with a playing with a golden ball, and then while playing we just lose it somewhere, and
Yeah.
just spend the rest of our lives getting the ball back.
Yeah.
So I feel like
But yeah, that makes sense. But I think like even now, a lot of people don't try to get that ball back because they're so, as we were saying earlier, they're so set within their comfort zone that they don't even try to pursue that ball. It's ball's long gone, and they're comfortable where they are.
a funny thing is, as you know, I'm in a relationship at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's been about 6 months. Before, I used to, for instance, after work, meet up with my mate and approach women on the street that we found attractive. And oftentimes I would go out and I may not necessarily approach because, I pussied out or I just wasn't feeling it. But the action of just being out there counted to some extent. And what I found is within a relationship, that urge is no longer there. And even when I'm walking along the street, I feel like I should want to feel like approaching, but I don't anymore. And I think it's just strange how, that when you fit into what society says, you get married, you fall into a relationship, you get married, blah blah blah. It does change, the raw self.
Yeah. Yeah. Next question.
Next question. Yeah, I mean, how does pranking relate to that? Like,
Okay, that's a good question.
yeah, 'cause,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a documentary about pranking that we're
Yeah.
doing, so
Yeah, I mean the two are certainly related. Pranking and getting out of your comfort zone. There's obviously a direct link between the two, because in order to do the pranking, you need to get out of your comfort zone.
yeah.
And one of the ways to get out of your comfort zone is through pranking. So it's kind of
Are we gonna include that in the
We're doing
documentary or something?
selfie prank.
What happens when you're in a
Self-explanatory.
relationship? You need to account for yourself.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So a lot of the pranks that I've done are directly related to getting out of your comfort zone. For example, I did a video on the tube, which was just saying hi to people on the tube. Now, saying hi, like let's say one person. You say you were watching a just a TV advert or whatever on TV. You saw one person say hi to another person. That would be the most boring and uninteresting piece of film footage you could possibly watch. Whereas when you do it on the tube to strangers, for some reason it's extremely interesting and entertaining for some reason. And yeah, for that reason is, as I said, because of the social condition that we've been exposed to and challenging that's what makes it interesting. It's that playing with the whole social dynamic of being on the tube in a place where talking is uncalled for, even though there's no reason why it should be. So yeah.
Do you personally feel a bit of insecurity when you're on the tube because of the proximity, personal space? Sometimes
I used to. I would say I definitely used to. Not so much anymore. Like now, I'm in a pretty good place where I can literally just look at somebody, and if they look back, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So
because you, especially for girls, you know,
Yeah.
if they wear makeup, I'm just imagining, you know, where you wear so much makeup, you might cover up blemishes, and the fact that you're so much closer, and there's usually quite bright light, especially like on the Northern Line, you know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe appearance-wise, girls may be insecure. I'm not sure. I've not
Yeah.
asked a girl, but maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
in that
I'm sure. I
sense.
mean,
and
I'm
equally
sure they are,
for
yeah.
like
Yeah,
normal
yeah.
people as well. Maybe if someone's got, you know, anxiety.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's very daunting being in
Yeah.
such an environment.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I used to be a little bit uncomfortable getting on being on the tube. This was back in the day, way before I started pranking, and this was, you know, I did have a little bit of, I'd say, mild social anxiety, and yeah, on the tube it's kind of amplifies all these insecurities for sure, because yeah, you're just very close to other people, and you got things to deal with, like not avoiding all eye contact at all costs, and obviously avoiding any kind of social interaction, which obviously isn't difficult anyway, because it's our default state, if you like, especially if you've got social anxiety. But yeah, now I'm just pretty comfortable. Like I just stopped caring. It's like letting go. It's like just let go and stop caring, kind of. It's like even now I sometimes will talk to people on the tube, if I feel like it, and like if they're like a little bit drunk or whatever, and they're talking, I'll definitely
Yeah.
talk to them. Yeah. Or if they're definitely in a good mood.
Do you think like the people that go do pranking? I mean, you're not the only one, but
Yeah.
like globally, like you think that like most people do it for like kind of getting out there, kind of
No,
expanding the
no.
comfort zone, or it's
Well,
more?
no, not at all. I think
money-making?
there's far more superficial reasons why they get into it. Actually, it's more to do with fame and money.
Mm.
Unfortunately, that's the sad reality. Is that most people get into YouTube, certainly YouTube, but also pranking because of this desire for fame, recognition, and money.
Reactions.
Yeah. For me, I never got into it for those reasons, but if those reasons came, that's fine. But for me, that was never my primary goal. It was always to have, my main goal was to have fun, but also just to do stuff that interested me, like, you know, certain videos, like talking to people on the tube. For me, that's interesting to see that, and to see if I can actually do it, and create an entertaining video as well. So yeah.
Is that one of it? Because why did they just stage everything? A lot of
Yeah, exactly.
the big ones, I guess.
Exactly. They stage everything because, you know, that way they can get you know, stupid reactions, and they can create whatever like ridiculous reactions that they want, and then they can get young children, impressionable children, to look at that, and that's the biggest demographic on YouTube. So they get the biggest demographic, that translates into the most amount of views, and that translates into the most amount of fame and the most amount of money, which is why they're in it in the first place. So it makes sense. Well, that's why me and Jason and a few others in the UK and in America have decided not to stage it, because we're for most of the people that don't stage it is because we don't feel right about deceiving our audience. So that's one of the reasons. But for me, it's that, but it's also the fact that I'm actually genuinely interested to see how people will react to certain things. For me, it's like personal curiosity as well. So there's an element of that as well.
But you were saying earlier that if it is everything is staged, then it's not real prank anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It's a skit. It's a very shitty skit.
Yeah. But do they say that it's a real?
No, they
it's a real
don't.
world.
No, they tried to pass it off as a prank, because their audience is all little kids mainly, and they don't have the social intelligence to realise that it's staged, and so they buy into it, they love it, they follow it, they subscribe, they become a fan, they watch all of their videos. That translates to millions of views and a decent living for them.
Do you think it's
So-
like a bubble? Like
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
I remember there was the period of like video games commentaries, and
Yeah.
I got aligned to that. Actually, I actually did like a few videos on YouTube and stuff.
What video game?
Yeah.
Videos.
But I remember there was like the peak, at least in Italy, there was like a huge peak.
Oh, yeah,
It was,
yeah,
Like,
it's all over
the
the
only
world.
thing you could find on YouTube
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just video commentaries, and maybe there was like some like video blogs, but also the video
Or video
commentaries.
games. Or video
Yeah,
games.
yeah, video games. But the video games was the main thing, and then maybe they would do like a second channel.
Oh
Putting
yeah,
the other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, vlogs or something. Yeah, no, that's pretty much worldwide. Is the case. When PewDiePie rose to the top of YouTube, it was a case of yes, video game are the most popular format of video. There's a few reasons for that. The barriers to entry is extremely low. So that's one of the main reasons, because anybody can just get a game, record it, and upload it to YouTube. Literally anybody can do that. The barriers of entry are so low. That's why it's the most saturated, and also because it's very easy to create content in that way, because all you got to do is just play a game, maybe do a voiceover to make it a little bit more interesting or entertaining, and that's it. Done.
Is it the same with pranking now? Like,
Oh.
is it kind of going towards that way? Kind of creating the bubble?
No, the bubble's already passed, I would say. The bubble sort of burst around sort of 2015, 2014, 2015. That's when it was at its peak, and then it sort of went downhill from there. There has been a slight resurgence in like the past year, maybe past few months, over in America. In the UK, it's very much downhill now. It's very much downhill, mainly because the main channels have kind of stopped being as active, and even I've been less active recently. But yeah, people like Troll Station have gone less active, and also their quality's diminished as well. But in America, the thing with America is that the best sort of real pranks are done in college campuses, where the setting is just so much more like picturesque, and it's so much more watchable from a viewer's perspective, because nobody really wants to watch like the shitty London backdrop with the grey sky and like the just the greyness of the UK. Where I'd rather watch like a nice beach in America, or like the beautiful college campuses in America. It's so much nicer, and also it's a lot better interactions when you can actually interact with students, because they tend to be they're young people, they're young and they're attractive, and they're kind of, I guess, the most like spontaneous as well as being friendly. So that's like the perfect combination of like the target to do pranks with. Whereas when you're in a big city like London, that has a kind of I suppose a slight culture of being sort of antisocial a little bit in London. It's a bit cold. It's a bit
Cold,
it's cold in terms of social. It's slightly antisocial. So it's very difficult sometimes to interact with people. Having said that, I've had like plenty of like interactions in my videos which have been like really cool and really friendly people even today as well.
Okay.
So it's just a case of keep going, doing lots of interactions till you get the right one.
How about like those like candy cameras thing? Do you think it's like still pranking, or
What's
is,
that?
Candy camera, like
Candid camera.
Yeah, when they did on TV and
Oh,
stuff,
right, yeah.
like back in the days. Is it still the same thing? Do you
Well,
think?
that-
or that is staged, the
It-
entire thing.
I think a lot of the stuff on TV is staged, because I wasn't like around back then to watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen of TV stuff that is like pranks, it's like 90% of it is staged. From what I know, like for example, Trigger Happy TV, I'm not 100% sure about it, but I'm pretty sure it's staged. Even though I used to love that program as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the main things. Like I absolutely loved that program. Like that was probably one of the reasons why I got into pranks myself as well. But again, like I was a kid, and it's exactly the same now with kids on YouTube watching the fake stuff, thinking it's amazing. Back then, Trigger Happy TV, when I was a kid, I watched that and I thought it was amazing. So it's exactly the same thing.
That's cool. Yeah, man. I think we got it.
Anything else related to like?
I think like when I wanted like
Yeah.
the topics like I think we covered that.
Anything to do with social kind of covered all that social.
Yeah. I mean,
Stuff.
do you feel you guys have anything like to say? You
Regarding
wanted to
pranks.
say?
I think the thing with pranks, like, it's just a fun thing to do, you know. That's the bottom line really with it. It's just fun. It's just a form of entertainment. It's fun to watch. It's fun to do it. It's just fun. That's all it is. You can analyze it all day, but ultimately it's mostly just for fun. Yeah.
Well, we had fun today.
Yeah, we had fun today. Yeah. Like, it's the thing with when you're doing these videos is that you have fun not only when, well, for me at least, I have fun not only when I'm like on camera performing, but also off camera as well. Just, you know, chatting to people, you know, chatting to Jason.
You keep going even if
Yeah.
even if you're not mic and stuff. Or,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just a fun. It's just a fun, just to hang out and stuff as well as actually do the thing. Cool.
Cool. Should we cut it?